Alex Merklinger's Mysteries of the Mind. And now your host, Alex Merklinger.
As you all know, Clif Webbot is our guest tonight. And Clif has asked if any of you out there have questions, and I know because I hear from hundreds of you, would you please email me immediately? Because tonight Clif said not only does he have some updates for us on his new run, but he will answer, now this is Clif talking, he will answer any questions that you might have. The question is, how's he going to answer them? But anyway, any questions you have, Clif Webbot will answer them for us tonight. We have reached a decision, my friends, and I do hope you understand, and I hope you will honor it, but I'm going to stop broadcasting for a while. There are many, many things that we have to do, personal and business. This week, this whole week, will be my last live broadcast for a while. I do not know how long it will be. God bless you, girls. Hang on, everybody. I'm trying to do this right as we start off, because on the other end of this string is our dear friend, good friend, compatriot, and every other thing I can think of, Clif Webbot. Yay, Clif! How you doing, my friend?
Doing fine.
Can you hear me pretty good?
Yeah, this is good, yeah.
Okay, great. And, Clif, I called out for people to send some questions in, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, because people, every time you're on, I literally get hundreds of questions, but they always do it after the show. Oh, ask Clif this, ask Clif that. And I write back, I say, he's not here now. What do you think, he lives with me?
Right.
No, he doesn't live with me. He has his own place. As crazy as that sounds. But anyway, so we have we have a lot of stuff that I'm going to kind of throw at you. I don't know, Clif, if I mentioned it to you, but I just finished announcing tonight that because of a lot of personal things I have to do, and I think because of the job that Arthur and I have done for the past 4 or 5 years, that our goal has been met, where we have opened up a lot of knowledge, information, and truth to people, that I'm going to stop broadcasting live for a while. We will have all of our reruns or archives up, and as many as I can find, because I have literally over 5 years. It's probably 7 years of broadcasting. Many of them have been lost, but not all of them. And we truly have some classic shows, including all of yours, because everything you tell us is classic.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know how much is worth paying attention to, but yeah. Well, this is good for you, I'm sure.
Well, it is. Clif, there's just so much that truly has to be done. And I feel that I wasn't doing my show justice, my listeners justice, because if I didn't have the opportunity and time to put in for the preparation, the shows, to my way of thinking, suffered. Even though I got some wonderful, wonderful messages from people all over the world saying, you know, this is the greatest show, blah, blah, blah. But so we are going to stop broadcasting live for a period of time, and I don't know what that period will be, but we will keep in touch with all of our people. But in the meantime, my friend, you have been doing more work on your run.
A deal of it, yes.
Do you ever get a break in between runs?
Occasionally, yeah. It does work out that we'll get, when the data is just being sucked in and processed by the servers, I get maybe 4 or 5 days that I get to do something else and not have to think about that, yes.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
And that's once a month, or
once every 7 or 8 weeks, probably.
That's absurd. But anyway, that I understand what you're going through and how important it is, Clif. The runs that you are doing, geez, that sounds awful, doesn't it, the runs?
I never even think of it. It's like it's just not an issue. What we're doing is, well, think of it the other way. We've got a giant data-sucking operation.
Oh, Oh, God. I won't touch that for anything.
Okay.
What and where have the runs that you've been doing now, what is coming out?
Well, as might be expected, all kinds of things relating to economics and pressure on resources. Of course, things, pressure coming from weather and earthquakes and these kind of things.
Well, does it show, Cliff, any more indication, because you and I have talked on the air and off the air, about the potential for a major earthquake in California? Although you have never come out and said California, all you do is say that the indications are a major earthquake somewhere in the world, right?
We try and get as much as we can geographically, because ultimately that would be our goal. But we've got to be real careful, of course, because we're more often wrong than not. So I wouldn't want to send everybody scurrying off just because they happen to foolishly believe me for a minute. So we're very careful about the geography aspect of it.
Right.
And again, we also have to consider how our source works. We get literally millions of geographic and numeric references. So we, as a rule, screen those out. And we're looking for geographic descriptors that arise at an archetypical level that, if you will, is beyond the conscious expression of everybody's fears. So just because everybody fears that the earthquake's going to be in California is the very reason that I go ahead and disregard it insofar as our work is concerned. I think their fears are justified. I think California eventually will have a very large earthquake. But our work doesn't go that direction. Rather, we ran into the issue of take the recent, or rather how do I say it, the fulfillment, if you will. I hate to use that word, but
right.
hit, if you're, I'm more inclined to say that, where we've had a situation in January of this year, we said, oops, there's our typical language suggesting that there's going to be a city that's going to go sink into the mud from which the bricks came, and another city that's going to go sliding down a hill. Now, at the time, we defined city as you and I might think of a city, because that's sort of what we're doing, although city is merely the top word in a whole long list of words that mean something close emotionally. And one of those, the way it actually came out in the text that linked up to city, was mountain of people.
Mountain of people?
Right. So that's how archetypically a city is defined within the structure of how language is taken at an emotional level. And thus, that's a little bit on the vague side. However, I would ask people to grant us at least that this most recent earthquake episode in Kashmir, where we had a mountain of people go sliding down a hill, and the earlier situation where we had a mountain of people, 1.3 or more million people, go under the water in New Orleans, were indeed the expression of the language precursors we saw back in January.
Yeah. Cliff, and I hate to put you on a spot like this, but in your what's the term? Predictions or whatever.
Forecasts.
Forecasts. Okay.
We think of it as like weather forecasting.
Okay. In the forecasting over the years that you have done it, and I will accept that when you and I were on the air several times ago, you mentioned the number 13 million people. It came out 1.3 million were evacuating New Orleans.
Correct.
I would say that's a hit.
So would I, simply because now we know decimals don't come through.
Right. In all of the major forecasts that you have done starting before 9/11, what do you think your percent of hits, even partial hit or hit, have been? What percent accuracy?
Well, if we were to look at it, we can look at it two different ways.
Okay.
If we were to just take and plot these all off on a spreadsheet and give them each an identifier, a single label, and then take out all of the main events, we'd have to say, well, you're 100%. That is to say, at some level, some of the words we use to describe each pending event, if you will, in a forecast, were used and came back to us with appropriate meaning at the time that event occurred. So, for instance, we had military accident before 9/11 because we weren't modeling the word terrorism.
Right.
This is the failing of our technology. If we don't put it in there, we can't find it.
Okay.
Pattern recognition kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Okay, then we had the issue of the sniper. Everybody's running around saying, loony white guy in a white van, and we were saying, no, two black guys. There's one lighter skin than the other. One sits as a servant in relation to the other. One guy has this association to the globe with wings and so on, which turned out to be a military insignia, and that they were involved somehow with the Muslims. So in both cases, we had words that actually fit the developing circumstances. So at that level, I'd say that, well, we're 100% on with some of these big things. On the other hand, we did, it's not like it's directly on. Let's take, for instance, we kept seeing for a long time a disaster at sea.
Mm-hmm.
Big disaster at sea, big disaster at sea. Well, in a weird kind of a way, it turned out to be the Columbia space shuttle disaster because, of course, Columbia, gem of the ocean.
Ah, okay,
and so the
right.
limitations of the technology are
Yeah.
shown.